Retail Week is brought to you by Nutrisphere N, Nitrogen Fertilizer Manager, protecting your nitrogen from all three forms of loss. Welcome again to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. Paul Schrimpf here this week with Dan Jacobs from AgriBusiness Global Magazine. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Great. It's still an extremely busy time for all of us. I was at the Farm Progress last week, and then this week we have a contingent at the Mid-America CropLife Association meeting. It's Rick Welder, of course, with Eric Svilgoy. That's where he is in the Midwest, and it's a terrific meeting for us, finding out what's going on in crop protection in the Midwest. And then later this month we've got the Farm Science Review, which is a big Ohio show down in London, Ohio, outside of Columbus, which is sort of like the Farm Progress for the state. And then I'm going to CropLife America at the end of the month, and then I know you've got you guys are planning for an event in Jakarta.
That's right. We have a trade summit focusing on Southeast Asia. We just had our big show in Las Vegas late last month, and then we'll be doing another version of that, smaller version, but focusing specifically on Southeast Asia and Jakarta in early December.
Yeah, awesome. All sorts of things going on. So in terms of what's happening with retailers, I think we're putting together, we're in the midst of putting together our big October-ish kind of a state of distribution report. And we're going to be really getting into the nitty-gritty up and down in terms of some of the challenges and opportunities there are with retailers. There's certainly a lot of challenges out there, and of course consolidation is among them at all levels. And of course the Agrium Potash Corp merger on the fertilizer side, there's a bit of concern with service and supply when it comes to looking at the season ahead, assuming this deal is going to close among the retailers that we've talked to for our September fertilizer issue. So it's interesting. We're going to be seeing a lot of partner changeover. Retailers are going to be very acutely aware of who they're working with and making sure they've got all their ducks in a row in terms of suppliers. And it's not over yet. I know there's a few other things that you were digging into this week on the consolidation side.
Sure. I mean, as probably most everybody saw it, Dow DuPont officially closed August 31st. So the new company started trading on all the stock exchanges on September 1st. So that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out and what it means for the industry. Of course, Bayer Monsanto is still an ongoing issue. The European Union just launched its own next investigation. Of course, they're concerned about antitrust issues and competitive issues. One of the other things that kind of cropped up that I thought was interesting is one of the concerns is national security, and that's a whole sort of different animal, and we'll have to see how that all plays out in the U.S. and the EU, and whether or not that is going to be a bump that they have to overcome somehow.
Yeah, you knew Monsanto Bayer was going to be the tough one, I think, of all these that are going on. And while it seems imminent, it's just there are just a lot of rows to hoe to get that one done. Now, a couple of other items after the break.
Over the 9+ years, they've done over 400 trials, side-by-side replicated trials, and we've shown that 90% of the time we've had a positive yield response with Nutrisphere. So 90% of the time a crop producer out of those 400+ trials could expect a positive response. That positive response is average 10 bushel an acre across all 400+ trials.
Also, of course, continuing saga this year has been dicamba, and I think there's a couple of other things in the news you found, Dan.
Yeah, there was some interesting news from, nothing is set in stone here, but the U.S. EPA is considering setting a deadline for when dicamba can be sprayed, and this would be like in the first half of 2018. And the note that the article I read suggested that it would be before soybeans emerge from the ground, so it would be pretty early in the season. And of course, that could have huge implications for sales for those products.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you had a lot of the problems that retailers complain about seemed to arise when the temperature was at a certain level. Temperature, humidity seemed to weigh heavily on when dicamba left the field and when it stayed. I'm not sure how that'll play out, but there's a lot to be learned here. I don't think one rule is going to solve all those problems.
Probably not. Probably not. I did notice that just the latest figures I saw that were 3.1 million acres of soybean were affected, which is about 3.5% of the soybean plantings in the U.S. So, pretty significant numbers there.
Absolutely. Well, two other things to mention. One, I encourage you, if you're, which should be most of you, interested in where technology is headed, the Precision Ag Vision Conference is coming October 10th through the 12th in Phoenix. That's going to be, again, CropLife is a sister brand of Precision Ag Professional, and in Precision Ag the brand, and we'll be we're working on that right now. The agenda is basically set, and we encourage you to take a look at that. And Precision Ag Vision is the website where you'll find additional information on that. Also, we're working through the next few weeks be the final returns on the CropLife 100 survey. That survey is very important for us as we calculate kind of where the industry's been, where it's going, get a sense for sales and revenue and things like that. And that report comes out in December. But I know Eric's trying to wrap those up. So if you've got those forms to come in, please do send them in via fax or email as soon as you possibly can. Well, that I think will do it for this edition of CropLife Retail Week. Thanks for joining us this week, Dan.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you again next week. Thank you to this week's video sponsor, Nutrisphere N Fertilizer Manager from Verdesian Life Sciences.